Hi, it's Matt here from Go Green Autos. So here's my MG ZS EV, and I've been asked to make a video on how you access and change the rear bulbs. So I've never done this before, so I'm going to film it the first time doing it, but it looks a very simple job. So first off, you have to remove this rubber cover here. Simply like that. And then you've got to take those two bolts out. So all you need there is a 10mm ratchet. And then normally you pull them this way, which I'm going to need two hands for that, so I'm going to have to put the camera down. This is now out, so all you do is get your fingers behind there. Let me just rest it with my knee. It's awkward doing these things one-handed while you're holding camera, but you've got to slide it towards the back, and it's basically got to slide off this clip here, and you can see down there what attaches to that. There's also a little bung, a little sort of peg that fits in that hole, but that will then just slide backwards to the rear of the car, and then you've got to take off this connector. And you do that simply just by pushing down on the tag there to release the connector. And there we go, there's your rear lamp lens off. So you can now access the bulbs. So having a look from the other side, that one there is clearly your reversing light. And then this one here is going to be your side lights and brake lights. So to get these out, you just twist anti-clockwise, quarter of a turn, and then you can pull that out and access your bulb. So that's going to be your side lights and brake lights, because you can see there's dual filaments in there. Put your new bulb in, put it back in, and then quarter turn clockwise will do that back up. The reversing light is the same, just a little twist. So yeah, simple twist on that, and then out pops the bulb. Of course, that's your indicator light. It's yellow. Should have realised that. That's indicators in there. Of course, the reversing lights are up in here. So yeah, we'll do the reversing lights next. So yeah, obviously putting it back is just the reverse. Very simple. Connect the wiring loom up, slide it back into place, whack your two bolts in, and put the cover back. So I'm just going to put this back in, and then we'll have a go at the other lights. When fitting these sort of things, if you're struggling and it's all a bit tight, because it's very cold now and plastic gets quite brittle when it's cold, so if you're worried that you might have to hit it too hard or you're going to snap things, it could be worth just sticking a little bit of lubrication on the parts that grip. So ideally a little bit of Vaseline, if not a little bit of grease. Only a very small amount, but that will just allow the plastic just to slide in that little bit better, and you've potentially then lessened the chance of snapping anything. So when doing these bolts up, the manual says tighten them to between 3 and 5 Newton meters, but they don't have to be particularly tight. You don't want to start breaking any of these plastic lugs, because that would be a very expensive mistake. Just knit them up and then quarter of a turn. Then they don't have to be particularly tight. They're only just holding a very lightweight plastic lens in place, of course. And then this plastic trim's got to go on. You can see the 3 pegs down there that slide in to these locations here. So just line it all up and make sure they're all in place, and then that should slide back in. However, I can now see I've got this wrong, so I haven't bothered refilming this. I thought, well, I'll leave all my mistakes in. So as you can see, this isn't lined up. So while it looks all right here, it's clearly got to go further that way. So I'm going to slacken these bolts off and move that. So I've lined this back up. So the key thing is you've got to just make sure that's all flush there, and then pop that panel back in. Putting that panel in was a lot more difficult than it looks. Trying to get them all lined up, it took me many attempts. I couldn't film it because I needed two hands, but then it just suddenly once clipped right back in first time. I think the problem is I was trying to slide it this way too much, whereas actually I sort of went in that way and it suddenly then sort of lined up and clicked in place better. So let's have a go at the lights on the tailgate up here. So getting this lamp assembly out looks exactly the same. You've got to remove that bit of trim. Funny enough, that just fell off in my hands because the plastic lug is broken there. I do know that the previous owner has put LED bulbs in here, so clearly he did that. Next you've got to remove this, and there's a little slot there that you put a flat blade screwdriver in. You can push this tag in and then pull the whole thing down, and you can see that it just hooks at the back like that. So whip that out, and then I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to see because it's a bit dark, but there's 3 nuts in here, 1, 2, and then the other one up there, 3. They have got quite long bolts. You are going to need a deep socket to access those. These ones are actually 8mm, so you're going to need an 8mm deep socket, and you are going to need an extension bar because these ones are quite deep. But you're then going to have to take them out. You also want to be careful taking these 3 nuts off because you don't want to drop it down, well, particularly in there, and it will get then inside your tailgate, and you don't want a metal nut rattling around inside there. So next you're going to want to undo this white connection here, and now with that undone we can take the light out, and to get that out it does just lift up like that. There's no clips really holding that on apart from those 3 metal studs which are just clamping it down to the bodywork. And then to get the lamp assembly out completely, we've just got to pop out that blue grommet because obviously there's the white connector on the other end. So yeah, there we go. That's what the back of the light looks like. We've just got those 3 studs there holding it in. As you can see, there's no other clips around the outside. It's got the bulb wattages written on the light as well, but we've got 1, 2, 3, and just like the others you just do 1/4 of a twist anti-clockwise to then lift that out. The previous owner has fitted LEDs on that, so this here is our reversing light, and I've got quite a fancy LED bulb. I've never quite seen an LED bulb looking just like that, but anyway, I might actually try normal bulbs in this because the reversing lights are shockingly poor. That does look quite a good LED bulb, but yeah, I suspect it's not using the reflector. It's sort of pointing all the light out and it's not pushing any light back, so I suspect that's why it's worse. You often get that with LED bulbs because the focal point and the light distribution is completely different with LED. It stops any reflectors working. So this is pushing all the light back, but not, you know, pushing all the light out of the lens, which you'd think would be great, but it then becomes a very focused narrow beam light. And what I find is I look in the rear view mirrors and I cannot see any light here. Whereas if it was a normal bulb, it's sending light out 360 degrees and it's then reflecting off the back reflector. So rather than a narrow beam of light, you're getting the whole lens lit. You might not get so much light, but it actually gives a wider pattern, and I suspect the old-fashioned lights are going to work better than these LEDs, so I'm probably going to switch those back over now while I've got it apart, and I will do a test and prove that. So putting it all back is just going to be the reverse, very simple. Obviously put your blue rubber bung back through there, sticking the white connector through first, of course, lining that back up, putting your 3 8mm nuts back on the other side, and putting this bit of rubber trim back on the end there.